my decision to actually leave the corporate world and my job then in Diageo to do fashion full time, I don't think it was well thought out. It was more of an emotional decision to actually stop when I stopped to do this. And in my own small rationalization of the situation was that I was already doing fashion for 3 years while working. And I was already becoming a household name. And I knew that if I had stayed in the role I was in at the point in time, I knew I was going to get a promotion. And if I got a promotion in Diageo, it would have been a lot more difficult because of my responsibility to even continue doing fashion the way I was doing it. And I also knew that, what I was doing looked like it had potential. So it was either I took the plunge then to do fashion full time, and leave the corporate world, or just forget about fashion totally and just stay in the corporate world. And I didn't want to live a life of regrets. Everyone tells you, go for what you want, try it. So I thought, you know what? Let me try this thing out. I had a plan and said if I didn't like what I was doing after a while, I would quit fashion and go back and get a job. And I knew I could get a job because I'm not trying to brag. I was pretty much amazing at what I did when it came to brand marketing at the point in time. So I knew I would get a job if I went to go back. So I thought, you know what? So I have a safety net. Why not just try this and see where it leads? And I did. The day I resigned, I didn't know I was going to resign that day. I went to work normally to go and work. And halfway the day, I just dropped my resignation letter. And I decided to go. So it was after then I even got a studio in Falamo Shopping Center. Before then, I was working in Yaba, Borno Way. People do not do this one. From Borno Way, I moved to Adekunle, just right at the junction there. That's where I had my production hub before I moved to Falamo full time. So it was just a choice I made. I didn't think it through properly. Do I regret it? Sort of. And why I say sort of is that I didn't know fashion was a business. I didn't know it was a proper, tedious, heavy business. I just thought it was because I was creative, I could go into it. If I understood fashion the way I understand it now, I wouldn't have taken the plunge when I did. I would have tried to set up my business while I was working to get the right people to push the things that had to be done with me working. Because I believe that if your business can work without you, and it can even push from that point on, when you decide to actually be employed by your business, you should be able to triple your revenue. Because I've got to learn that, there are different things. You can be self-employed. That means you work for yourself. You can be a business owner. That's totally different from being self-employed. Okay? At the point in time where you decide to work for yourself, you are self-employed, doesn't generally mean that you are the wealthiest man in the world. It just means that you have a job and you are responsible for making something happen. But if you're a business owner, it means that you don't necessarily have to work in the business because you own it. Okay? And when you own it, other people can actually run the business. I would have thought of running my business as a business owner and not trying to be self-employed. But this is years down the line, and we're still working on it till now. I was quite senior in the marketing then. I was senior brand manager again when I quit my job. I always look back now when people actually, do you have regrets? So I try to evaluate myself with my colleagues, and I think of people like one of my closest friends who we started innovation together in Guinness. Is now the MD of Pernod Ricard. So I was thinking, if I stayed then, I would have been MD of a multinational by now. One of the guys that I recruited then, who became an executive in Guinness, now works in Airtel as a head of marketing. Prior to that, he was a marketing director for Coca-Cola. So when I look at those things, I'm thinking, where would I have been in the whole situation of marketing or leadership right now in Nigeria? Definitely, it would have been an MD role or a regional director role. So sometimes when I look at those things and my friend comes here with a tinted, Land Cruiser, four-wheel drive, a driver with security, sometimes I'm thinking, damn, man, that's me trying to go into Yaba market to go and buy fabrics. I'm wondering which tailor has come today and who has not come tomorrow, and all that kind of stuff. It's quite interesting, but I think the one thing that keeps me driven and committed is that I actually love what I do. I love it with my heart, and I don't see me doing anything else, to be honest. And that's what keeps me happy every day. So when something is bad sometimes, I just realize that, this is what I love doing, and it makes me more committed to it. So yeah, and it's good to have those relationships with people that have done really, really well, and still be able to call them friends, So it's great. I didn't have an idea of what I really wanted to do. I didn't have a brand speak. I didn't have an aesthetic. When I started, I wasn't even making suits. But as time went on, we started realizing that looking at the opportunities, area of strength, and you start to decide on what you really wanted to do. The idea to start making suits was based on a business plan where I was thinking that if I could make a profit of 30,000 naira on an item and I could sell 3,000 of that item in a year, I will make 90 million naira. And once that thing hit my head, I started saying, hey, hold up. So which of my product can I sell and I can actually make 30,000 naira profit? And trying to sell 3,000 of it was a major challenge. But now thinking about it, 3,000 is very possible. Then it was not possible, but was a goal that I set. But 3,000 times 30,000 was 90 million naira. If you're making 90 million naira in this country, you're all right by every standard. And this was the target that I set for myself like 12 years ago to make. Obviously in the first few years it was not even realistic, but I set it up. That's why I started making suits, because suits was the only thing that would give me that kind of margin. For the bridal part of things, so when we started the business, obviously it was called My Atafo Inspired. And the acronym was MAI, M-A-I. So when we launched the bridal line, we called it Weddings by My. The story for the bridal was quite interesting because when I left Guinness, as I was doing my own thing, I was also fashion editor for Genevieve magazine. And I proposed that we did a bridal edition. And the bridal edition was the inner content was to be bridal for what we called Styletitude at the point in time. So I was looking for bridal designers, and it was quite interesting that then, looking for bridal designers, Nigerian bridal designers, I could only find 4. I was Ade Bakari, Kosiba, Valerie Davis, I wonder where she is right now, and Franco Shodi. Those are the 4 designers that actually did bridal, and they're Nigerian. There was also Adebayo Jones, but it was in England, so we couldn't source his things. But I got close from Kosiba, who it was in England then, but he managed to send his things to me. Adebekari was England and Nigeria, so we got some things from him locally. We got from Franco Shodi and we got from Valerie Davis, and we did this amazing, I think I was one of the first bridal photo shoots for Genevieve magazine that we did then. And it was just a light bulb moment. I realized that, wait, only 4 people that brides can go to make things for. And I thought, let me look into this area. And the point in time, I had my clothes in that same edition because I made wedding dresses for my sister-in-law. So the dresses were with me, so I put the dresses in the shoot. So I thought I could be one of these guys. I didn't have a skill in bridal. I didn't know how to put these things together very well. So I had to start building myself up to be able to deliver on those kind of things. Then in Nigeria, the only wedding dresses that most people wore, I mean, not the only, but population of the brides wore man-made wedding dresses. And it was so bad that if you made a mermaid wedding dress, it felt like you were copying Kosiva because he was the king of mermaid dresses at the point in time. It was just literally fit and flare, fit and flare. And anybody did anything that was close to that silhouette, you copied Kosiva. You know, and I got a lot of those flags that time too because I did the mermaid dress. But it was when I did that little research, because of my work, I realized that there are only 4 and there were weddings every Saturday. I thought there was room. So then brides bought their things from the bridal shops you had in Ikeja, some bought their things from overseas. But now, being able to find Nigerians to make what you wanted that was different from the things that you were seeing was now amazing. So I officially launched the wedding line in 2011. I did a show then called Dream Wedding. And I think the climax of the show was when Uti and Muna kissed. And they were wearing outfits that was inspired by the royal wedding of Prince William and Kate, you know. So it was something then. Then we didn't have social media. I think the most we had was Twitter. There was no Instagram and Bella Ninja online. And that's where all the scoops came out. But yeah, it was pretty much good time. And that's how we built our aesthetic, start making suits for grooms and groomsmen, wedding dresses for brides. But now that's evolved into a full business. And we now do menswear, women's wear, bridal, and traditional outfits. Yeah, my name, I get that a lot if it's my name or something that I just work from my brand. So yes, my Atafo is my real name. So my name is actually Ohimai Atafo, or you know, if I'm from Edo State, our names are very long. So the full name is Ohimai Mefo Atafo, which means, my name means God has created a beautiful human being. Ohi is God, Mai is something that is well made or beautiful, Me is me, Fo is finished. And my surname Atafo means we are done talking, or it is said, or end of discussion, whichever one you want to call it. So that's my real name. So it's Ohimai Atafo. And why I coined that Maya, when I was in England, a few people called me Mai. But most people called me by my English name, which was Darren. But when I got to Nigeria, because I was Darren. And just because when I was in Guinness, I was Ohimai Atafo. When I started the fashion thing, I didn't want to be Ohimai Atafo again. So people do not connect it. So I went by Mai Atafo for fashion and Ohimai Atafo for work. So there was not, the same person. So people didn't know for a long time that the guy that worked in Guinness was the one that owned the clothing line. Because while I worked in Guinness, I was in front of the camera talking about our promotions, our activities, did big things then, brought in Sean Paul and all that. I was one responsible for all that. So people used to see me on TV talking about Guinness. Next time you see that same person on TV again talking about fashion, it wasn't a conflict, but it was going to get confusing. So that's when I started pushing the Mai Atafo. And that's what led to the name of my business initially, which was Mai Atafo Inspired, which was M-A-I, which was my name. I thought that was a really great name at that point in time. But look at us. 5 years later, we dropped the Inspired, was Mai Atafo. And a few years after that, we dropped the Mai and became Atafo, which is what it is right now. So I am Mai Atafo and the business is now Atafo. I know it will take time for us to understand the change, but I think it was something that was important that I did because our market in Nigeria is very different and people know me as a personal brand away from fashion. So I had to make sure that there was a divide between the clothing and the individual. It's quite interesting association to Tom Ford and Oswald. I think it's flattering, to be honest, because I think that those are two very exceptional people in what they have done, And I think that they should be given enough credit because you know what? Tom Ford was the one that turned around the fortunes of Gucci when it was, felt like it was going to go down. And it grew to the point that they could even buy off Saint Laurent. was it Saint Laurent or Givenchy, and became part of the whole brand. That was huge for someone that didn't have believe in, an American guy taking up an Italian house and growing it to the point that he grew it to. Also, Boateng was creative director for Givenchy Men. Most people do not know that. Apart from doing his own thing, he headed the menswear for Givenchy for a while. And a black guy is like, may he so rest in peace, Virgil Abloh. People scream about him doing that for Louis Vuitton. But Oswald did that for Givenchy years ago. And people do not celebrate when you say black people that have broken barriers and stuff. Yeah, so being compared to those two people are amazing because, like I did say, Tom Ford was the one that turned the fortunes of Gucci and took it to where it is today. He's the first American brand that has designed the James Bond, which is a British spy, knowing that England is even the mecca of suit making, but you have an American dressing up your Bond. It's an attestament to how good he is with his craftsmanship and what he does. Oswald he's led a lot of things for black people in general in fashion. First black guy on Savile Row, right? You can't take that away from him. That's major. Even till now, there's still very few black men in Savile Row to think that he was the one that started that at a very young age. Also, creative director or the head of menswear for Givenchy at the point in time, he did that then. So I don't think he's even celebrated enough for the barriers he has broken as a black man in the fashion industry. So if I'm compared to those people, I think that means I've achieved something, or I have something that people think is good enough to be compared with them. And I think it's also easy because we all make suits first of all. So it's less like you can compare you to other people that make suits, with Oswald Boateng, those even African too. So I take that as huge compliment and major flattery. But when you look at the brands differently, you look at the brands in totality, Tom Ford, Atafo, and Oswald Boateng, you realize that there's similarities, but there's a lot of difference, So I can even brag I'm the only one that does African traditional wear of all the brands. So that's number one. Secondly, Oswald women's wear is really more like a touch and go, but we also do women's wear. I'm also the only one that does bridal of all three brands. And interesting to me, a unique twist to even the Atafo brand. And I keep saying this, but I think we're the only designer brand that does bridal and groom anywhere in the world. Most designers either do the dresses and not the guys, and some focus on the guys and not the girls. We're the only designer brand, not store, but brand, that actually does designer garments for both the groom and bride. I mean, recently Ralph Lauren did the wedding dress for, I think, one of the Jonas brothers and his wife, but he's not known for making wedding dresses. So we are known for making wedding dresses and also suits for grooms and anywhere in the world. So I always say that if you find another designer brand that does that, give me a call. Yeah, I know, we do the whole train. So it's like pretty much the whole thing for bridal. Anything you want to do for bridal, for weddings in general, we can deliver it. And I think we're the only brand that does that in the world, which is quite outstanding as a designer brand and not a store. I always say, like, a stores, you have stores that have everything, but as a designer brand, and we don't just say we're the ones that do it, we're probably the ones that do it and do it equally as good for both. And I think that's a remarkable feat. So there's a lot of differences, but being associated with greatness like that, I'm very honored, to be honest. I think handling difficult clients, I think what I've learned in the business is that you should have a standard procedure for operating with your customers. You should have laid down procedures that you should have itemized. Have those things in your invoice or on your website, or even like a small agreement. Things like invoice are only valid for like a week. If we start an order, you can't cancel it. We don't do refunds when you change your mind on your order, or we can give you the money as credit. You should have those things laid out, so that's how you operate. Even down to We don't do things outside the office. If you want something outside the office, an extra cost to it. We only do pickups, we don't do delivery. If it's delivery, it's going to be your cost. You should have all those scenarios as laid down as possible. So over the years, I've encountered a few things and I add it to these procedures so people understand. Even away from that, you know you can't satisfy everybody. There are still customers that will still give you grief, regardless of the situation, be your fault or their fault or any other person's fault. I would take peace over anything. So I'm always very happy to end the transaction and refund money so I can have peace of mind than trying to fight for whatever money it is there is. So I'm very happy to let the customer go if we can't agree or I agree to disagree on a certain point. I'm happy to let the customer go. But I would try to do everything I can do within my power to try to satisfy a customer. That is very paramount to me as a business. So make sure I try to satisfy you whichever way, my fault, your fault, anyone's fault. Just try to satisfy the customer, give them what they want. But ensure that whatever has made that situation arise, you write it into your procedure so another customer doesn't get into that same situation where you guys are at loggerhead. But I would happily let a customer go and refund, even if I have to lose, just to keep a good reputation and to make everyone happy. I think year on year, you always face challenges as a business, regardless of what your business is. The issues, the challenges that I'm facing now, first of all, it would be experienced and competent employees for some strategic parts of the business. So trying to get somebody to be the head of the bridal unit is a challenge right now. Because for you to be the assistant fashion designer or fashion design assistant, whatever it is, you literally have to have expertise in terms of technical, physical work, in terms of even making a garment, if push comes to shove. We have production that takes care of that, but if we have to bead a dress or something, you should be able to carry a thread and needle and start beading. It may not be as good as a proper beader, but you should be able to have that ability to do that. You should be able to alter a garment if need be. You should be able to actually do consultations, do a sketch, figure out what promotions will make brides come to the business. Now that's a gap. Anyone that's good enough in that wants to do their own thing at the end of the day. And it's quite interesting that when they do their own thing, they may not even make as much money as you're willing to offer them, but they want to do their thing because it comes with the recognition of it's your own, rather than working for somebody. So that is a big problem of late, just trying to get competent staff. The landscape has really, really changed. Our business is still very old school. It's not something that has evolved with time. So you cannot work out of location if you're working in the fashion industry. If you're working in the creative team where your input is occasional, you can. But when it comes to something that's a full-time job, it's very hard to. So there are other areas of expertise that is needed. Now, for me and my business, we're trying to now go into more ready-to-wear, especially for the women's wear. Now, the journey for ready-to-wear, from collection to lookbook to retail to e-commerce, where someone can actually just click and just order and buy. That line is a very crazy line. It's not as easy as it seems. So people like ASOS and Amazon, trust me, there's a lot of work that goes behind that. Now to get to that level, because now we have a lot of international clients that want to order our stuff. The majority of our orders come from overseas. And they want to order this stuff. And you find that you're going through WhatsApp to start explaining this and this and one measurement for that. Trying to make sure everything is compact in a way that they can actually just do it themselves, regardless of where they're coming from. It's quite difficult. We're trying to work through that. Now, trying to get someone to actually manage that whole space is now really, really challenging. So skill set, experience, knowledge it's a difficult one in the fashion industry because there's no pipeline. They're not like 3,000 designers that have done this thing perfectly that you can go and get people from them to come and work for you. Okay, so that's a problem. Unlike overseas, if you want to pick somebody that's creative director for a luxury brand, you probably get 30 people. You probably have another 50 that are potential. But in Nigeria, if you want to get a creative director for a luxury brand in Nigeria, you will struggle. If you want to get somebody that will be head of menswear for a fashion brand in Nigeria, and you say you want to get 20 of those at the same time, you will struggle because there's no pipeline. If you want to get 10 MDs today, there are many DMDs in the bank that can be MDs. Even in the same bank, there are more than enough people that can actually fit the role. They may teeth for a little, but there are people that can do the role. So that's a major challenge. The other challenge, again, is trying to set yourself up for international market, because we are here, but people want our stuff overseas. Just we ourselves trying to get to the level where our garments are standardized and be able for export is difficult. Other challenges include even exporting out of Nigeria is such a huge cost, right? Producing your garments here, where you make your money in Naira, you have to go to the black market to go and buy Forex, use the Forex to buy the garments, bring the fabrics back in here to produce, but your customers still want the prices to be as little as the Naira price. It's just a huge challenge. If you're not charging in dollars, it'll be difficult for you to be competitive in the market. And you can't charge in dollars because that's not the way you do business in Nigeria. So there's also that issue. So the cost of actually running your business it increases literally almost like daily. When there's fuel scarcity, it's affecting your customers, your workers coming to work, affecting your alternative source of power generation, which could be your generator. That's more cost on your garments. You cannot increase price immediately, that happens. When diesel goes up, it affects your cost. When dollar goes up, that one affects all your raw materials. And that's the time your landlord wants to now increase rent again. So you all affect, but your customers do not want to see that impact. It's funny how they will understand when it comes to food. If you go to a restaurant and the food price has gone up, you'll pay. If you go to the market and that has gone up, if you're going to enter a bus and the conductor said the money has gone up, you'll pay. When you come to your fashion designer and he says the price has gone up, you want to argue. So that's a huge challenge in terms of perception, trying to make people understand that we are also part of the economy and what goes on. Then another issue that we have again is funding. I don't think people seem to understand enough of what we do as fashion designers to realize that we need a lot of money. I just put together a fashion show that must have cost nothing less than 20 million naira. And actually cost way over 20, close to 30 million naira. And when you're trying to get sponsorship, it doesn't ring that you spend that kind of money for that, because in my fashion show, I had over 50 models. If you had to pay models, if it's even paying them as small as 50,000 naira, that's 2.5 million naira. If you're paying them 100, that's almost 5 million naira. That's just for models. That's minus the welfare for the models. Venue could be anywhere from 5 and above million naira. Production setup could be anywhere to be 10 million. Lights, screen, stage, all the partitions you're doing, setup. And if you go and meet a sponsor and say, oh, please give me 30 million naira, it looks like for a fashion show. It doesn't seem to, Davido is not performing, Wizkid is not performing, Burna Boy is not performing. Why is your show so expensive? So that's the cost. And that's just putting on the show. Not about investing in a fashion brand. From equipment, I can go on with this thing because it's a problem that we face. You want your clothes to be as perfect as the one you bought in England. You do not want to pay as much as you paid for the one in England. But I'm going to use the same tools and machine to produce the same garments for you. My buttonhole machine, as of when I bought it almost 4 years ago, it cost 6.6 million naira just to do buttonholes alone for a jacket. And when that spoils, anytime somebody has to fix that thing, it costs like under 500,000 naira. These are challenges that you have to go through. I worry about things like it because I want my brand to be as international and as standard as possible. I don't want to give anybody something mediocre and say it's a Nigerian factor, because I won't accept it from anybody. So I don't know why I would give it to anybody. So I have to do everything that I can do to ensure my garments are as world-class as possible. So So those are a little bit of the challenges that I'm facing. So I can imagine what the other younger designers are facing as they start up their business. Because no one is giving them a chance. No one is giving them space. No one is giving them opportunities. The only good that they have people like us who readily tell them what's going on in the industry so they can prepare for it. When I started, nobody did master classes. Nobody shared fashion secrets to anybody. Nobody wanted you to be successful, to be honest. They actually kept things away from you rather than tell you information. Now, we'll give you information. We'll tell you how you can apply for Lagos Fashion Week or Arise Fashion Week, who to talk to. But then, to apply for Arise, you didn't even know how it happened. It was a mystery. I remember when I went to do the first Arise, and I didn't even know what happened. The second one, I had to personally send an email to the publisher before I was even called. So it's interesting that these are the dynamics in the fashion industry, and I hope it can only get better. I think there's I call it a colonial mentality thing where we still value things from overseas more than we value things in Nigeria, regardless of if the things in Nigeria are better quality than the ones we buy overseas. We still believe the white man is better because he's a white man. And for Nigerians, he even believes that if you even have a British accent or American accent, you're better than the one that has a Nigerian accent. We are that backward in our thought process. And sometimes it even happens to us in our subconscious, not even in our conscious. We do not know we are doing it, but we're doing it. Okay? So I would make a suit for somebody here, and the suit is less than £1,000, but he goes elsewhere and pays £3,000 for his suit. But he comes here, he sees the suit is actually better, but he still wants to price me down. I think at my level now, I can make a decision to actually proceed or not proceed with the order and tell the person, please, I choose not to sell at this price. And if you want to take it or do not want to take it, then that's your problem. Because Nigeria is the only place I know that when they cannot afford your thing, they do not want to pay the price you have put on your thing. All of a sudden, you have bad customer service. Because I said, oh, this thing is going to cost you 100,000. You said you want to pay 50. I said, no, I can't take 50. Then you are now rude. All of a sudden, that's what your customer is going to say. And I get that. We get that a lot here and there. But I think that for me is to put your work out there, make sure your work is as good as it gets. Then put your price on it and stick to it. Then you have to be very, very, firm on your words. I can't afford to go lower than this price, unfortunately. Sorry. It does hurt when you see your people coming up and they beg you for things and you support them. Then when they now blow, they are offended with Fendi and Gucci with Gucci and, spending up with Dior. And all of a sudden, it comes back to you and they still don't want to pay for your garment, but they would rather pay for the international garment. It hurts, but what can I say? Maybe we as designers have to use the international platforms to actually market our products. So where they go and buy their Gucci, they see Atafo next to it and see people that they respect wearing it. Maybe then they would have value for it. So I think that we just have to use it to our advantage because we can be where they are. So let's be there. And when they see us there, then you can now actually add that premium to your product. And we take it from there. And it's very possible. For the younger designers in the industry, I know it's a very, very tough one. I don't know what words I would say to, I can't even encourage them. But I think that, let's think about it this way. Think of the music industry, okay? If today you drop a song and the song is not as good as the song we dance to, we wouldn't dance to it. Regardless of if we figure out that you are trying. There are no points for trying, okay, in the music industry. I think even in the movie industry, if your movie you put together is not as good as what is currently making the buzz, no one's going to watch your movie because they say, oh, you tried. Let me just watch it because you tried, okay? So why I'm giving those examples is that that's the way we behave. There are probably God knows how many million artists out there that are trying to break in and their songs are not jamming. But think about it again. If somebody's songs jam, somebody's song jams, you do not need permission. You will dance to it. Let me give a good example is Ashake. I know he has been hustling for a long time and stuff, but now he has hit a connection with his fans. All of a sudden, he's one of the biggest artists literally on the continent. Like that. He didn't have to beg us to listen to it. He just gave it to us. It's at the same quality, he's jamming as good as the other guys, he's not collecting money as big as the other guys. So when you look at artists in the country right now, you're calling people like Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, Tiwa, Olamide. You put Ashake as one of those guys in that big category right now as the rave of the moment. Chris Daniels is there, but you get what I mean. You put Ashake there, but that wasn't the case this time last year. He didn't have a concert this time last year. That was 30th December, if I remember very well. This 30th December, Ashake is one of the biggest tickets in the country. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're a young designer coming in, you have to come with craft that is strong. You cannot have wonky lines and things like this. No, you won't get anyone's attention. You need to come. So you have to go and understudy. So you cannot just come in because I love doing fashion and you come like that. The playing ground is now the terrain is very tough. If I was a young designer coming into the game today, I will struggle. And that's real talk. So I'm not surprised that a young designer is struggling. It doesn't mean you cannot do it. It means that you have to do more work, you have to do more research, you have to put yourself out there even more to drive harder. You cannot start with the non-knowledge that I had when I started. You have to start with even more knowledge. You have to have photography friends, videography friends. You have to understand social media. You have to know how to place your product. You have to know marketing. You have to know PR. You have to build relationships. You have to do all that. If you do not know all that, you can't get into the fashion industry because it's an industry and it's a business. It's not something you do for love. It is a proper business. You have to have love for it, but you can't be doing it only because I love it, so I do it. No, you have to be good at it. You have to be good at your craft. So it's tough, but I say strive on, but focus on the business side of things and not the glitz and the glamour parts of things. Those days are gone. Because anybody will wear a garment for free. But the real thing is, would anybody actually pay for your garments? Is what you should be looking at. Not those that say, oh, I like it, I want to wear it. No, I like it and I want to buy it. That's what you should be looking at. Being a fashion designer, there are many facets to it. I think that the actual sitting down to design is almost something you do not do on a daily or even a monthly basis, to be honest. How you run the business is more paramount to you than actually sitting down to actually come up with designs. We do that more for season, for collections. But the other time of the year, we actually just try to run the business. So my priority as a fashion designer, I think one of the things that sticks to me, first of all, is my production has to be 100%. Those that work for me have to ensure that delivering on their work regularly. The other one that worries me the most is now customer service. Once people come into my space, you should have an experience. It should look good. You should smell good. You should be comfortable enough. When the person is coming to speak to you, speaking to you, they should be knowledgeable enough. They should be able to carry you through the journey of the brand so you understand what you're coming here to do. Okay? I think that's very, very important. That way, your back end is sorted in production, your front end is sorted with customer service. Everything in between, you can deliver. Because I always tell people these things. If you have a clean, well-tailored white shirt, and when people come to buy the white shirt, you speak to them well, they have their sizes, and they do that. People come and meet you again for a white shirt. But if you have a white shirt that is just in one corner, we have 100 white shirts, time, you put it in a nylon bag, hand it to them, go, give them my... They don't get an experience, they will not return to you, except it is a very, very cheap product. Then I know I'm buying it for the money, for the cost, and for nothing else. It's production, customer service, not necessarily design. Once those things are full, you can always come up with designs and give to your customers. Your customer wants to see design. If you do a collection 2 every season, even 1 every year, you're good. But designing is not priority. It's something that I like to do. It's something I will always do. And moreover, as a fashion designer, designing comes easy to me. I can come up with a new collection today, even after I've done one just last month, because that's the core of what I am as a fashion designer. Creativity just runs freely within my bloodstream. But trying to make customers happy and production is more important. In trying to break down fashion as a business, I would do it from a cost perspective. I think it's two things. I think once an industry becomes successful and people are still patronizing them, they now have the audacity to put a label, an amount on top of what they are offering, and people will pay. The music industry is successful. If I want Burna Boy to perform for me, I have to look for how to get somewhere between $300,000 to $1 million to pay him, right? And all of a sudden, if 1, 2, 3 people pay, that's the price on him. There's nothing you can do about it. But it doesn't mean that it came free, because he put in the work. And that's why he's achieving that. Fashion as a business is very different from a lot of creative sectors. Meaning to say, it doesn't depend on one guy. In as much as I know the music industry doesn't depend on one guy. Fashion doesn't depend on one guy. So as a business, I want to break it down real quick. I have a studio, so I pay rent. I have to get employees, so I pay salaries every month. I have to run the studio, so I get diesel, we have a cleaner, you have electricians to sort things out, you have all those things. Everything you put into the business is a cost. When you take all those costs at the end of the day, you could be racking up close to 100 million naira to get your business to run in a year. Now, to offset that cost means that you need to make over and beyond that money plus tax to be in business. So basically, if I have to make over 100 million naira to offset my cost, and if tax on top of that is another 30 million naira, it means that I have to sell at minimum, just to break even, 130 million naira worth of something. Earlier on, I talked about, what can I do to make 90 million naira? Now I'm talking about 130 million naira. This is how it's a business. So every garment I make for you is trying to offset that cost. That's why I'm doing this. But people still believe you are doing that garment because you love to do that garment, not because you have a cost to offset. And I'm only talking about business costs. I'm not even personal right now. I'm not talking about your own house or your own car or your own children's school fees. I'm not even talking about that right now. That's exactly why people go into business, is to make money whilst they do what they love. So as a business, I'm employing nothing less than 20 tailors who have families and who have, responsibilities, and I have to pay them. So when someone says, I want a black pair of trousers, and I'm making a black pair of trousers, or a pair of black trousers, and I bought the fabric, I'm cutting it goes like, sorry, I changed my mind, I want white. Basically, fashion for me is just literally a way of life. I always loved clothes. I've loved clothes since I was a child. Since I remember myself being young and being a sensible person, I've always loved clothes. And it wasn't from the point whereby I wanted to make a living out of it. It was just something I wanted to just do to enjoy myself. Wearing it and expressing myself through clothes was all I wanted to do. If it was now that I wanted to start fashion, I probably most likely would be a fashion influencer rather than being a fashion designer, because it was never about me making clothes for people. It was about me just looking good and dressing well, and that was it, pretty much. And that's how I still love fashion. When there's Fashion Week, I am as excited about watching other people's show as I am about actually putting on my own show. If I travel overseas, I want to go into all the fashion stores. I want to experience the stores. It's not because I'm a designer, it's because I just love fashion. So, and then that's it for me. Something that if I actually stop producing garments today and I stop being a fashion designer, I will still be in fashion, or I will still be fashionable. Because that's what I really enjoy doing. I enjoy dressing up, I enjoy looking good, I enjoy putting things together, and that's pretty much me. So transferring that to customers is easy, but I'm happy to keep it to myself and just be the guy that dresses well. So I can stop all this tomorrow and just be a fashion guy. And I'll be very happy with it, to be honest. I think the whole thing with fashion influencers is quite interesting. So people tag themselves influencers by themselves, and they probably do not have influence. Because now it's also a job to be a fashion influencer. You start doing things, you grow your community and see how far it gets you. But some people that are already famous and popular, and they have influence, and they use the influence to navigate their community to do what they want them to do. And I think it depends for anybody at any point in time where you are at. For a brand like Atafo, we do not necessarily use a lot of brand influencers, if we even use at all. But there's somebody that has influence that wears our things, which is Ebuka primarily. And I wouldn't say we use Ebuka to influence. Ebuka likes the garments. Ebuka buys the garments. Ebuka wears the garments. And people see it on him and go like, you know what? I want what Ebuka is wearing. Is he an influencer? Yes, he is. Does he have the power to influence? Yes, he does. Does he wake up every day trying to create content to influence people to change their behaviors? I don't think he does. I think because he has built something and he's credible, people have picked what they like. So people can look at Ebuka as a fashion guy and like what he wears and want it. People can look at Ebuka as a master of ceremony and follow him doing all that, and he influences those people with that. People can look at Ebuka as a television personality, and based on that, you follow him. People can look at Ebuka as a fitness enthusiast and follow him because of his workout routine. So because he is living his life and all these things are part of his life, he can influence different set of people to do what they want to do, not what he wants them to do. That's the case. But people wake up and say, I am an influencer. I want to be a fashion influencer. So because of that, I want to start creating content specifically so people can acknowledge and know that I do this. Then over time, I can get rewarded financially for actually doing what I do. So it's like a job, like a 9 to 5, being an influencer. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure. When people burn under pressure and it begins to stress them out mentally because I posted something last week, it got 1 million likes. I did this one that is better and it's only having 100,000 likes. What am I doing wrong? How is this going to work out? So it affects them. I don't think such things would affect someone like Ebuka, who his life is the content. I don't think he goes to the comment and go like, I didn't get 3 million comments here, so I have to worry. Because he's just living his life. So if your life permits for you to be the content, great. But other people, their lives do not permit for them to be the content. So they have to create the content. If you're doing that, that's what you have asked for. So you have to live by it. So it's someone like me saying that I want to be a fashion designer. I didn't go to fashion school. I didn't intern with anybody in fashion. As a designer, I came into the tough way, and I had to build my grounds to where I became successful. Now people see me as a fashion designer. But in the beginning, I wasn't a fashion designer. I was someone that loved fashion. But now I've proven myself, and now people recognize me for that. I think that social media has gotten us to a point whereby we don't use it to our advantage. We use it because other people use it the way they want to use it, and you're following suit. If at the end of the day, you are on Instagram because it's another channel for expression, use it as a channel for expression and leave it there. I think that now we are living in two worlds. There's a universe and there's a metaverse. And this social media world, which I want to tag the metaverse, is where we go to show off, look for people to like us, and that's the only thing that we put there. Forgetting what our real life says. And sometimes you get carried away with what you have on social media and not what you have real life. And I think as the years go by, it's going to get even worse. That your real person doesn't matter, it's your social media person that matters. That person you put out there once a day or 2 or 3 times a day is what the world's going to use to create or curate what you really are as a human being. Because we do not share any other thing that is not us. So it's going to be difficult to fix that, to be honest. It's going to get worse, to be honest. I don't know how, you cannot say you do not care, because that's what is now the yardstick, not by individuals, even by corporates. Everybody uses that to judge you. It's like, I want to see your social media handle. If I go there and see no pictures, I do not know who you are, I do not want to relate with you. If I go there and see pictures of you enjoying a good life, then you are this one. But you don't put your suffering on social media. You don't put your pain on social media. If people put their pain on social media as they go through the pain and balance it out, and not pain in terms of trying to glamorize your pain so you can get sympathy, but it is what it is. Take away the likes and the comments from social media. I think social media will be a better place. But we can't take away the likes and the comments. Because if you just put a picture up and the reaction to the picture means nothing to you, then that's fine. And it's just like in life in general. I always have this saying is that the only thing that makes you feel bad about a situation is the reaction that you expect from the situation. And I'll break it down. If I want to give you money and I gave you money and I wanted nothing in return for the money that I gave you and nothing comes back, I'm fine because I wanted nothing in return. But if I gave you money hoping that tomorrow you would see me and greet me, if you saw me tomorrow and didn't greet me, I'll be offended. But guess what? I didn't share with you my expectation when I gave you the money. But in my head, I already created what I wanted in return for that money that I gave to you. So I gave you money, I want you to love me more. I danced for you, I want you to love me more. When you don't love me more, then I get depressed. I get sad. So I'm actually the one that set the standard, set the objective and the result of the objective, and now it has failed, I feel bad. But you see, people's reaction is not dependent on you. People's reaction is dependent on them and not you. There's a good saying that the possibility that you fall in love is not in your hands, it's in the hands of a stranger. Because you have to meet a stranger who now becomes a friend, then a lover. So it's not up to you. You can be the nicest and the sweetest person in this world and no one would marry you. Because it's not your choice. It's somebody else's choice to make that fulfilling to you. And when people start to realize that, then it makes it a lot simpler. So you can choose to be a kind person and give and give and give and have nothing in return. And that's what you choose to be. But if you keep to be a strategic person to give so you can get in return, then you have to open yourself up to what will happen to you in the future. And I've learned this the hard way because people say, I've heard conversations about me like, oh, go and meet my, he will do it. Then when you don't, they're like, why didn't you do it? What's going on? Because you expect that I always do it. But I do it for myself. There are people that have done a lot of kind gestures to. I do not expect that they will give me anything in return at all in life. And when they do, I am very grateful because they had the decision to give me or not give me in return. And I think that's what the whole thing with social media. If you put a picture up and you don't care about the comments of the post and the likes, you'll be fine. I'm saying it, I know it's very, very hard. It's not easy at all, but it is not a social media thing. It's a life thing in general. Your parents taught us to be good. They didn't say be good so that people can be good to you. They said be good. That's all they taught us to be. It wasn't a strategy. So what I'm saying is that if you do without expecting in return, you are a kind person. If you do and you expect in return, it is a strategy and the strategy may fail. So you have to be open to that it may fail. And that's everything in life, not just social media, that's even in real life. And if you keep being kind, people will use your head too and call you mugu. But if you know what you are doing genuinely is what you're doing, then do it. Do not dissatisfy yourself to please anybody. But if it's easy for you to do it, then do it. I can count the number of designers that have passed through this my studio in terms of building their career. I know the number of designers that I talk to every now and then to build their careers. That's why you see in the fashion industry, oh, mine is love, mine is love. But it's not something that I do because I want them to be nice to me. I do it because, oh, I like this person. Okay, I might as well do stuff for this person. I can still tell the same person, oh, so you know what? No, I can't do it for you in the same way I've done it for you. So you should understand when I say no, because I say yes. Do you understand what I mean? That's a different ambassador. I told that if you need somebody to help out at the show, call me. I'll come through. But that's also friendship at the end of the day, you know. So that's how I see this whole situation of social media. I don't think it will get better. I think it will only get worse because of the kind of generation of people that we have created. Because the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha have grown up with social media. So they don't know what we know. They don't know any other thing. What they know is this is how life is. It's a very tough one. I wouldn't even lie, sit down here and say it's easy by doing this. No, I was born with a phone in my hand. I interact with people through the phone or through a computer. I'm friends with somebody in Bolivia and Yugoslavia through Roblox, which is a computer game. Do you get what I mean? I don't know any difference. So when you tell me to go out and ride the bicycle, I'm thinking, why? I don't get it. It's not fun. This is fun. So trying to change the orientation is like my parents telling me, oh, go to the farm. That's where there's fun. I was like, no, that's work. That's exactly what they're trying to tell the kid. Go and ride the bicycle. I'm not interested in riding a bicycle. I want to play a computer game. And they will show you people that have played computer games that have become billionaires. And you're like, oh, okay. A good example is the Nigerian music industry. Growing up, want to be a musician, you are just a wayward human being in life, in general. That's what you have become, right? But now, if a kid wants to tell their parents, I want to be in music now, they will give you a recording studio and say, okay, But please, just try to finish university or try. But when you see what they have done, when I was growing up, you had dreadlocks, you are the wayward person. Now, men are plaiting their heads and have dreadlocks, and it's okay. I mean, it's not okay to those people called SARS, but you know what I mean in general. But it has really changed, and I think that the world is very dynamic. We have to just understand it. But I think the best way to insert is really just communication. And it's not just communicating, it's actually comprehension of what you are communicating. If you have a child, female, male, try to make them understand that I want to understand. I don't want you to just talk to me. You have to be trying to be friends with your kids because that's the only time they will open up to you. Because by default, your kids will never open up to you because you're the bad guy. Never. They will open up to your friends, but not to you. By default, because you are daddy. And daddy is the tough guy, no matter what you say in life, you know. So it's like, it's a tough one. I think the world is literally, I can say this because I've experienced pre-social media and social media. And if I want to say I have a good understanding of both, I know it's going to be very, very hard to reverse things to the way that they used to be. That probably is not going to exist anymore. It's going to even change as we go further. You know, it's tough. Influencers are good. Becoming an influencer as a career is amazing. Do you understand? When it works out. When it doesn't work out, it can have negative effects on you. I think it's just what the platforms have done, and it's called social media. It's not called educational media. Do you understand? It's not called the humanity media. It's called social media. And that's the big flaw, first of all. It wasn't made to make life better. It was made to make social interaction better. And we as human beings, we fall for social interaction more than any other thing because that's what entertainment is built on. And that's our escape from the real harsh life that there is. So it's like, how do you glamorize the rehashed life? How can you tell me somebody is a laborer and he works 70 hours a day? And I say, wow, that's great. I want to be just like that. No, So even interestingly, I got a 9-year-old who knows Elon Musk. Elon Musk. And I'm like, how do you know? Oh, he's the owner of Tesla. Okay. But in the game that she plays, he's in there somehow. But he's a CEO. But he understands digital impacts and what that means. And he has got himself to play in that area. The young thing says he's the coolest guy in the world. Again, he's the richest guy in the world, or second richest since somebody beat him. And he makes this car that electrical cars and all that, so he's a cool kind of dude. So you can gain affinity to that kind of person. But the normal guy that works hard 9 to 5, and there's nothing cool about him. So how do you celebrate that? Now, the guy that makes a first class, yes, he is intelligent, but have we shown the impact of that kind of person on life and on society that makes me feel like I want to emulate that? When you're calling rock stars today, you don't call the engineer or the doctor. They're not rock stars. They're just normal guys. The rock stars are the ones that can pull out numbers. They have community. Kim K is something in life today, and you can't take it away. And that's what these platforms were built for. When you watch your TV, there's still Discovery Channel, there's National Geographic, but we not send what we want to see. The channel 189, Big Brother is back, boom. Do you get what I mean? And I think that's what life is right now. It's sad. So for those of you that do, or those of us that now do real life authentic works, you have to just show your life on social media, because that's another work again. It's another layer to it. Like, I'm a fashion designer. I come in here, I sit on my desk the whole day, run upstairs, chase orders, come back, put this in the system, order fabrics from here, order that from that. When I'm getting angry, change my pair of jeans, get my sneakers on. I go to Yaba Market by myself to go and get the fabric by myself. I go to Balogo Market, then come back again and continue doing what I'm doing. But when I'm in Balogo Mayaka and Yaba Market, sir, is that my Atafo? You come here, where am I supposed to get fabrics from? Where am I supposed to get fabrics from if not here? Oh, you come by yourself. Why don't you send somebody? Why should I send somebody when I have hands and legs and I know what I want and they may not know what I want? If I don't find what I want, I can change my mind and make another decision quickly. But if that person comes, because I told them buy me white satin, they don't say white satin, I'm going to come back to the office. They've wasted time, effort, petrol, car, driver's time, only to now go and do that again tomorrow. But again, on the flip side, if we meet in the market in where they buy fabrics from in Italy, it's okay. It's nothing to be a bad thing. But when you meet me in Yaba Market, it's a bad thing. Or you meet me in Aba, it's a bad thing. So it's all social standards at the end of the day. Like you say, would I think it would get better? I don't think it would get better. And what people have not tried to do is they've tried to, like you said, the fake life is there. There's a show off. It's glamorizing what it is right now. And we will glamorize somebody wearing a Dior shirt over somebody wearing a simple shirt at the end of the day. It's really screwed up. I don't know if I know the answer to it or what it is, but I think since the younger ones are getting wiser on time and they're becoming more aware, it's almost to give them enough confidence in themselves. That's the most important thing. Trying to make them understand that you are worth it by yourself. And you don't need anybody else to tell you you are this before you believe that you are what you are. And again, that is also difficult. But I think that's the starting point. Because the social influence is strong. It influences us in everything we do. Even down to the doctors we use. Social influence is even now stronger than anything else. If somebody tells you and the person is a star and says, this is who I use, that's where you most likely would want to go to at the end of the day. So it's yet to stay, sadly, and we can't change it. I just wish that people really found out what made them happy away from a camera and away from a phone, away from a flash. If you find out that thing that makes you happy. So when all this makes you sad, if you can withdraw back to that thing that makes you happy, and you know what that thing is, I think that would be the most amazing thing ever. If you know what that thing is that makes you happy, and makes you happy by yourself. I mean, sometimes it's difficult. If you can find what makes you happy when no other person is involved, that'll be great. And if that thing that makes you happy is eating food, it's fine. If you're sleeping, it is fine. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy. If you're spending time alone, just watching movie, even if just passing your time and that's what makes you really happy, and you know that's what it is, then great. So you can work 20 hours a day or 12 hours a day, sleep 8 hours a day, then you clean out that small 4 hours for that thing that makes you happy. Because happiness is not something you do, it's not something you get every time. It's like a small injection it's like a small steroid. If you give me happiness this morning, you can take me the whole day, you can take me the next 2 days. If that thing that makes you happy, you can just get a dose of it and it drives you for the rest of the day or the rest of the week, please, by all means, try to do it. And that's my advice to anybody. Just find what makes you really, 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 really happy and protect it by all means necessary. And you'll be good for it, to be honest. But please do not make it depend on other people, and most important, not on other strangers. Yes, not on strangers that you do not know. You don't even need. These days, sometimes people don't even trust their spouses anymore because it's now ridiculous how people actually plan to be in your life or what they can benefit from you. Sometimes it's a 10-year plan, and they will stick to it until the moment they know that, yes, I've made the kill. So this goes to men, goes to women especially. I know women have been grown in society, make you feel like you need to be dependent on something or somebody to make you feel whole. If you can depend on yourself, I know it's very, very, very hard, these words I'm saying, but that will make you a bit more satisfied with the life you're living. Like, I'm doing what I'm doing because I love it. When I'm having a bad day, one great garment from the production room, well-tailored, looking beautiful, just gladdens my heart. One comment from a customer saying, "Oh, I wore this thing you made for me yesterday and everybody was falling down like London Bridge. Oh my God, I'm happy again." That's why I'm doing what I do. Because if it was for money, I would have been doing cryptocurrency or oil and gas, looking for contracts, be supporting one dead politician because I know I will get one contract or something ridiculous. But it is for love. So I can be here every day, all day, all night, and still be happy. When I'm making my collection, it's like the happiest time of my life. When the sample comes out, it's like joy in my soul. So I hope everybody finds their own thing that makes them happy. That is not on social media. I think I've been working with Asho, okay. I mean, just for Agbada for guys every now and then. And last year, I did a shoot with the Queen Enegushi, Olori, and we talked about doing something that was more royal and stuff. Back when I said, let's Ashoke to make the thing. As we were talking, I suggested, why don't you use Ashoke to make you a suit? Because she wanted to wear a suit, so we decided to make a green suit for her and everything. Why don't you use Ashoke to make you a suit? And she was like, I'm like, yes, that will make a suit, make a corset, but you also tie gele on top of it. Let the gele be your crown. So imagine if you are the new age queen going overseas, going to England, for instance. If you dress like this, they will give you a second look because it's their outfit, but it's made in Ashoke. And we did the shoot. And we made the camera, we did the shoot. But she didn't release the pictures on her birthday that we did the shoot for. I was not she liked it, and I had behind the scenes. So for the longest time, I felt like, let me just post my own that I have. But she didn't post it. I couldn't post it because that would be wrong, because it was her shoot. She made the garment, she paid me for garment. I can't go ahead and post, except she posts it. Then this year, she just sent me a message, it's my birthday tomorrow. And I've been saving the pictures for this birthday, so I'll be posting them now. And like she saved the picture for a year to use. And immediately she posted it. It was ridiculous, the feedback we got from that, using Ashoke to do everything. And that was just when I was still putting together the final pieces for the collection for this. So when she posted it, I was like, okay, great, now we can do our Ashoke thing. So for the collection, I just did Ashoke jacket with the corset, but I tied a wrapper under it and we could get it as against doing pants this time. So I did that in the collection, which is quite interesting. The patchwork Ashoke, that was from Big Brother. I did it for Ebuka. That was the first time we did it. Because we're always trying to do something that stands out. Because it's television, it's Big Brother, it's Ebuka. We're always something that stands out. And for the opening show, we always do one English and one traditional wear for the show. We sat down, we had inspiration for everything, but the second traditional wear, it wasn't just clicking. Sort of different things, it didn't just click. Literally 3 or 4 days to the show was when I just said, Ebuka, I have an idea. I want to do a multicolored Ashoke agbada for you. And it's like, as long as this thing is ready before the show, I'm fine. So I went to the Ashoke place, Bizboard. So I started picking Ashoke strips. I got the dimension of an agbada. As I was doing it, it was just coming together nicely and everything. Once I was done, I sent a picture to Ebuka. It was like, guy, whatever you want to do. And fine. So we looked at it, came up with the idea, crystallized it, came back, started sewing the patchwork together. It was just an idea, how do you use Ashoke in a way that never been used before? And that's exactly what we did with it. And once he wore it for the show, it was sensational. We had people commenting, talking, and the ones that were copying, and everything. And that pretty much became it. So it's now pretty much a signature of Atafo, where you have a patchwork Ashoke as our thing. Any other person you see that is doing it, literally, they're copying from us. Because I think that if you're getting married and you want to wear Ashoke, instead of wearing Ashoke the way it is woven and the way people see it, how about make it a bit more grand? And you have different patterns to it. So when we did the collection, we had 3 different Ashoke patchwork agbadas, and they were all 3 different designs. So if you want a muted one, you get a muted one. If you wanted an extravagant one, there's one that even had beading on top of it after we did the Ashoke work and everything, and we had that too. And I think the response was quite good to it. And so definitely, Ashoke patchwork agbada is now becoming a thing for Atafo, one of our signature for the brand. And I like when we do signature things, where the first time you saw it was with us, and now everybody is doing it. Just like the 3-piece kaftan, that sleeveless thing that people wear on top of kaftan, we started that. And now everybody, like, that thing is, the whole of Africa wears that thing. So everybody makes that thing, that they all jacket and wear. So I asked them, what tribe makes it? And it's no tribe. Yoruba wears it, Hausa wears it, Igbo wears it. It's just something everybody wears all of a sudden. But we started that. Now everybody just wears it. I like when these kind of moments come, when you lead people into a conversation, about something. I mean, you can't own it only to yourself at the end of the day, but sometimes, it is what it is. If I'm not wearing anything Atafo, you most likely will catch me wearing denim. I love denim. So I will put it in my collection most of the time. I love denim. I like dressing casually in denim. Denim and sneakers is great. T-shirts, denim and sneakers, I love. That's what you most likely would catch me wearing. I think failure. Failure is a huge fear. And that's why I work so hard. And I know most people don't want to say this and they act like they don't really care. Death is also a fear. Most people just say, live every day like your life, blah, blah, blah. I think we're all scared of it. I'm scared of death. Not just even my own death, like even death of people around me, friends and stuff. Yeah, just failure. As long as I'm living, failure and death is it's a fear, because it's the fear of the unknown. That's what death is. Like you don't know what happens after that moment. It's like this, and you don't wake up from it. It's not like sleep. Well, yeah. But failure primarily, I do not want to fail in whatever endeavor I try to embark on. So it is one of my biggest fears. That's a very interesting question. I've never really thought about that, to be honest. Who would I love to see wear my stuff? So if it was generally any human being at all, it would be David Beckham. Because I think he has intense style. So if he wears Atafo, he would look even more stylish. An actor, or I think I would love to wear my stuff would be Steve Harvey. Yeah, I think because he's a fashionable guy, so I think he would appreciate the craft and the garments. So definitely Steve Harvey. I can't think of any younger person. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how high your career flies or how high it goes, there's always still something that will still bring you back to ground, or somebody. When you think you've achieved the most, you are this, you are that, you have stressed this one out, somebody will still humble you. So for me, it's like, just remain humble, so you don't feel like you have been humbled by somebody. So I serve everybody the same way, regardless of who you are. I try my best as much as possible, just to be as much as a human being, an individual, as any other person, so I don't get surprises. But no matter the height you achieve in fashion, somebody will still make you look stupid about something that may never be your own fault. So just warm yourself up for it. For 2006, it was I lost my dad on the 4th of July. I think it was like a Thursday. They called me and said, "Oh, my dad was ill and was in the hospital, but there's no cause for alarm. There's no need to come home. He'll be fine." Blah blah blah. And on the Saturday, that same Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, they called me and said he had passed, just like that. And my dad was never someone that was ill or anything. He was a very active person and stuff. And I come from a large family, but I am like one of the only few kids that's in the country. So I had to take it upon myself to sort out everything. So travel back home, consoling my mom, consoling my sister, and my other sibling who was here in Nigeria at the point in time. And when you take responsibility, it's always very heavy on you. So that was me. I wasn't necessarily crying or mourning or anything. I had to start encouraging people to feel better, starting with my mom. Then I switched from that mode immediately to funeral arrangements. So I didn't go through the motion of I actually lost my dad and people telling me sorry or whatever. I was the one telling people sorry. Anyway, fast forward to August, we had to bury my dad. All my siblings came from overseas, we buried my dad and everything, and we put him to rest and all that. And a few weeks later, my elder brother was meant to travel back to the UK, and he was in a car accident and he died. So again, I got that same phone call again. My brother passed. I had to now travel to Abuja for that. And I think that, that whole period just really got got me really thinking. It took me to a space I've never been before in my whole life. First of all, realizing how fickle life can be. And I had to do it all over again. Now I had to bury my brother. Like literally, he died weeks after the funeral of my dad. Yeah, so he stayed behind after most people had gone. He's an Abuja boy. He used to live in Abuja before he went to the UK. So after we buried my dad in Edo, he went to Abuja because that's where he used to be, that's where everybody was, and that's where he had the car accident. He was actually flying out from Abuja. So I had to bury him, so I told nobody to come down. I told nobody to come down, that I would handle this one by myself. It was a tough one. So my sister was here then. One of my brothers, my immediate elder brother was here too. I think what really hit me more than getting to the hospital and seeing his body and everything was, the way life changes is very interesting because the person is still there, but the person is not there. You actually see the person, but the person is not there. And he was married, had a son, was a big boy now. And they were the only ones that came from overseas for the funeral. And we had to bury him. And I can remember we getting to where we were going to bury him. And his wife asked to see him. So from the coffin, obviously he was sweating because it was heat in the box. I started cleaning his face with a handkerchief. I think that's when I really broke down. And we covered him back with branding. But as that was happening, we're here and we're all sad. When you just raise your head up and look at the city, life continued. Life was normal. The conductor was shouting, wherever he was shouting, the cars were moving, those that were fighting, who was selling. It just brings you to a point whereby it makes you feel like you're just a drop in the ocean and your life doesn't mean shit. And I just thought this is my brother, this is Benga, he was a great guy, why does life go on? People should stop for a second. I realized that no, people don't stop. It's you that feels the pain. I think that whole period, that's what I call the making of a man for myself, if I had to write the book. Because I shouldered a lot of responsibilities that were way beyond me to carry at the point in time. I'm right in the middle. We're 9 and I always have to count number 5, 6. Very inconsequential number I am. And I cried. Did I get through it? Yeah, I got through it. And I was inconsolable by anybody. Nobody could console me at the point in time. And that was when I actually told myself, 2006, I remember now, that, if this is what life is, I have to do what makes me happy. And that was the trigger for starting fashion. I just said, I love this thing so much, I might as well just do it because, at the end of the day, one day I will die, I said, I didn't live my dreams, I didn't get to do this, I didn't get to do that. So it made me a bit more selfish with self, not by depriving others, but definitely putting myself first and forward. So that was the point I said, everything I want to do in life, no matter how terrible I am at it, I'll do it. I love music. I wanted a song. I have a song with YJ and Praise. I did a video for the song. Yes, it's called Stay With Me. It's on YouTube. It's my song. I get the credit for the song. Do you get what I mean? It is my song. It's called Stay With Me. That's the title of the song. Yeah, if you go to YouTube and put Stay With Me by Atafo, you'll see it. I wasn't in the video, which I regret. I should have been in the video, but I was trying to form Quincy Jones and not be in the video. But it's my song. I said something in the beginning of the song and everything. But it's my song. I have credits to the songs. I've made some money of the song, which is quite interesting. And it's a very nice song. Featured by Jay and Praise. They did all the singing in the song. But no, I can say I have a song. I have a music video. That's when I started to say I will start my fashion label. I'll start doing fashion. So it made me start doing everything I wanted to do. I want to be a fashion editor. I want to MC shows. I started pushing myself that, so started doing more shows. So literally, I want to look like I've lived my life and I've lived 9 lives. So when it feels like, have you lived the life that you are happy with? I'll say yes, even as I am right now. The only thing I'm driving for is more money. It's not necessarily more happiness or more fulfillment from something else. It's just money that when you are in your old age, you do not have to beg. That's literally why I'm still working. If I have the kind of money that I feel like I do not have to work a day in my life, I really wouldn't work a day in my life, because I'm not about it. So I think that was the toughest part of my life in general as a human being. It made me see life in a very different way after then, friends with family and everything. It was a tough time. I just know that when people say, oh, somebody is dead or someone died, I feel a bit of remorse, but it doesn't, I just feel like, it's inevitable. It's the one thing that is guaranteed upon everybody in this life as we are right now. Your birth is not guaranteed, but your death is guaranteed. And that's why I said it was one of my biggest fears, just because it's something we can't control. And that's when it makes you realize that if you had a feeling that there was no God, that's the one thing I can imagine what my mother went through. She was the only person that was kept thinking, like, how are you even breathing? Like, how? I mean, I was one buying casket, doing program, ceremony, I mean, you go, and I never really mourned my brother's death. I never really did. I can remember myself insulting God. I remember clearly, I was insulting God. The words I said, I can't even say it again, because I felt so much pain. It was literally almost 2 years later that I actually could let the burden off my shoulder, my brother's death, because I went to visit his wife in London. I was with my elder brother. It was a very, very funny guy. Like, literally, if he was alive now, he would have probably been a comedian. That's how funny Benga was. And he didn't have scripts. He just said things. So like 2 years later, I was in England with my brother and my sister-in-law, his wife. And they were having a conversation, and she was like, oh, asking her for a driver's license, which she didn't have. And she just started crying. And I was like, why are you crying? Like, well, my husband was here, he was the one that does all these things for me, this. And the man said, oh no, oh sorry, you lost. She said, yes, oh no, you can go. And she left. And she said she was doing it just to get out of the situation, not that she was really crying. And she and my brother started laughing, like, you did that, right, badass. And then that's when I thought, oh wow, so it's okay. Because before then, I could hardly even call his name. So if his wife could do that kind of thing, and my brother was like, I felt like, oh, so it's okay for us to feel like that. And I excused myself. I went outside the house and I cried. This was 2 years after we buried him. And I cried. You don't kind of cry, you cry and start laughing and start looking up and having a conversation with him again and laughing and crying. So that was the moment I actually felt some relief. There were times I would go into my house and I feel like I literally just saw him. And I would sit and have a conversation with him and I'll move on. Like, I always felt that it didn't happen. I'm better in denial or something. And trust me, when he was alive, we used to fight more than we used to play. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was the toughest period. If anything that led me to live a life-changing, to have a life-changing experience, it was that. It was when I realized that, he was 33 when he passed. It was 33 when he passed. So I realized that, this life doesn't wait for anybody. So I do what I want to do. And I keep saying that when I go, I want the world to stop for at least 1 second. I want to do things, I want to impact life that if it's just even 1 second and they go like, you know what, he was a great guy. I probably will never know the feeling because I won't be here, but I would want that. So when people even tell me these days and say, oh, I appreciate you, and they say it honestly, it warms my heart. It's those kind of moments that just makes me feel like, thank God, because these are 2 people that are my friends. We just dropped a conversation. They was like, Mai is so cool to work with. Mai is a really nice guy. And they didn't know I was on the other end of the phone. And it was very genuine. Do you understand what I mean? And I said, oh, thank you very much, lady. Mai, you're still on the call. But those kind of things make me feel like, okay, yeah, thank you. At least you're touching somebody one way or the other, you know. And so that's that part. That's the one thing in life that really broke me and built me, to be honest. When I say my favorite color, right, people will be like, huh? Really? Yeah, boring. My favorite color is blue, which is quite sad. Yeah. If I have 20 suits in my closet, which I do not have, I think I have a bit more than that. More than half of them are blue. So I consciously do not make blue anymore because it's ridiculous. Yeah, but that's my favorite color. Maybe another reason why I like denim too. Oh yeah, definitely. Of course, lots of people. I mean, we talked about Tom Ford and Oswald. I mean, without a doubt, those people's hustle have definitely inspired me a lot. Even sometimes it's just even some people that you least expect, because it's not even about the person, sometimes it's just their action. You know, one person did something, you know, and there's this young girl, a designer now, Vicky James. She's very inspiring. I just look at her like, this little girl, I look at all that you're doing. You know, it's like, I remember myself when I was you, you know, I didn't do half of what you're doing right now. So, you know, amazing, you know. So even my friends, like people like Kumbi, the first people to tell me, you must go to China, you must go to China, disturbed my life, booked my hotel room. I said, go, this is the room you stay in, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at no benefit to them. Do you get what I mean? It's those kind of things I look at and go like, you know, these are great things that inspire me from great people. So it's not like one person I put on the pedestal and say, oh, you must be such. Actions from individuals. Like as simple as even simple as Wizkid inspires me. Because I knew when he was a teenager trying to get into Sway Bar, and he would get in there, he would sit down and he'd probably be looking at all of us like, one day I will get to this level. Oh. Do you get what I mean? And look at Wiz today, you know? And that one I know because he's my friend, and we've had, you know, some sort of conversation there. I've made clothes for him. I remember his first show in the hotel. I made him this badass suit, and I think we did some painting and stuff on it. And he loved it. He was going to rock it. Then he gave it to the cleaners to clean. And they went to clean it and they spoiled the thing. How Wizkid was so angry. You know? Man, Baba, what did they do my clothes? Baba, you know, things like that. And I'm not seeing the same guy who's recognized internationally. The same, like that's one person I never had a doubt in his talent. I had to introduce Wizkid at Lami's album listening party, and I introduced him like I will introduce him today. I told people like, listen, you may not know this guy right now, but once he's done performing, if you're not on your feet, right, then I'm not the guy that came here to host the show. And when Wizkid was done, people were standing up, and I told them, please sit down. And they sat down and said, if you think that was an amazing performance, stand up again. And they all stood up again for that guy. You know, and I see what he's doing right now. I'm his Egbon, but he's inspiring me to believe that, you know what, beyond the Oju Elegba, do you understand? Even that's a starting point. There are many of them doing amazing things I want to emulate, and based on their actions, could it be someone like Burna Boy and what he's doing? Could it be Davido, who, like, that is one I've never met. I've met Davido, but we're not like friends. You know, I don't have Davido's number or anything. But for someone to wake up on a day and says it's my birthday and I want you guys to give me money. The audacity to publicly say it, and he's calling people's names, because you know what, he knows himself and he knows his favor and he knows his goodwill, and he's not saying if you feel like, he's demanding that, oh well, you do this, and he raised over 250 million naira in 24 hours or whatever that was. Man, I don't know, even pastors need to emulate the good. Even pastors need to emulate the dude. And there are many of them. Could it be someone like Thames that, you know, for a second, we Nigerians will even be doubting her, like, so the way she did sing, so she sure so. Are you not seeing how they used to sing Bangolo? You're not showing us sexy. What's going on? Boom! Look at that. And I can keep going. Ashake sings in Yoruba, he's shutting down London 3 times. Do you get what I mean? They're just, I think it's the action of these people. And it's not even the young people, it's not like movies, music alone. Look at Mohabudu. Like you said, oh, I paid Mohabudu for a show in Guinness. I brought in the master brewer and I said, oh, Moments with Mo, come and cover this situation. Do you understand? Paid Moments with Mo. I can remember very well. She came to Guinness, we talked about what we wanted to do. We did the recording in the bar. She told me, man, we have to record this thing in the studio because that's where the show is. Went to record it in the studio, and DSTV was giving her wahala. You cannot put it, it's a sponsorship from an alcoholic brand. You cannot go on before 8 o'clock. This. More looked for ways that we could actually still get this content on without, watering it down. And we still got it on DSTV in the very tactical. I can't remember what she did then, but we worked closely together. Then from talk show, now, Mo is like the #1 female in the film industry, literally on the continent right now. That's a strong story. Someone like that, I think I'm saying, oh, I can call her my friend, but look at what she's achieved in that time. She literally took that. Very when she was sharing her dreams, people thought that, is this possible? And another thing that inspires me about her, I know this is not about Mohabudu, but another thing that inspires me about her is that she literally shot down Ebony Life. And I think that's what people do not understand. And that's not failure, that is success. When you've actually analyzed something and say, you know what, this is not going to take me to my destination. And I have other vehicles taking me to my destination, and this one is going to not take me there either as fast or as well. And you shut that down and move. People want to hold up, oh, you failed, you could not do a TV channel. That's not the issue. What did you do? So I tell people at the end of the day, if you're doing fashion and something is holding you down, drop that one. You forget being a suit designer. Go and be a shoe designer. If that's what you get, you shouldn't follow the stereotype, So there are many people like that. And I can go on. There's a young boy that worked with me, Ilefe. He came in wanting to do suits and kaftans and blah, blah, blah. And he saw the way we were making ties. I said he wanted to learn to make a tie. And I put him with the tailor that was making bow ties. And he learned to make bow ties. He interned here for like a few months. And when he left here, what did he go and start doing? He started making bow ties. He didn't do suit, he didn't do shirt, he didn't do anything. He started making, he's handled his indulgence. He started making bow ties. Dude moved on to menswear accessories. And he's doing very well. 2 years ago, he came to show me a car that he bought. He has his office in Yaba. That's what he's still doing till today. He didn't do suit. So people, when you copy people, that's always said something about being authentic to yourself. That felt real to him at the moment he just saw what was going on. I remember when he told me that he got an order to make 3,000 bow ties for a church. I'm like, what? 3,000? And he's gone beyond that, And same guy, when I was doing my show, I was like, oh, come and watch the show. He was like, no, boss, I'm coming to work. What do I need to do? He came here that day. He didn't even go to front of the house, though. That he was backstage, carrying things, dressing up people, knotting ties. He came with cufflinks for my models and everything, on and out. So actions and people are what inspire me. More like actions of people inspire me. I can, because I study people a lot. I can go on and call names and names. We probably would not finish this interview. We probably have to cut out a different segment for that. Tiwa that had a child that still came on top, because when women have kids again, it's like, hey, that's the end of your career. It's all over. You can't do anything you want to do anymore, or struggled with marriage and stuff. And she's #1 female artist on the continent. It's amazing that there are tons and tons of humans. I think for me as a person, I'm a creative mind, and I intend to explore that even more in the coming this year in 2023, God willing. I definitely want to go into production. After doing my event, I thought that it's a good time to really go more into events and stuff. So we never know. We just watch this space. From the Atafo brand, I'm still trying to grow this brand to be a mono brand that can stand by itself, ready to wear. World dominance very soon. Award season is coming. Let's see what we can do in Hollywood. because obviously our location will not be our final destination. We are bigger than where we are from. So we take it a day at a time. I learned from somebody who says that you don't say and do. You do, then you say. So when I finish doing, I would more than happy to have you guys come and interview on what I have done next year. Rather than talk about it and don't deliver against it, then it'll be on social media like, look at what the things he said he was going to do. Look out at the end of the year, what did he do? But yeah, but I think that's the key thing. So in 2023, I want to be able to empower a lot of young Nigerians to just be remarkable and achieve the most they can achieve. So whether from fashion or any way I can do it, I'll do it. I'll be rolling out my fashion commercialization mentorship masterclass again this year to do more of that. And and once again, just live life to the fullest so you don't have regrets when the time comes.